Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into a fascinating country often called the Pearl of Africa, Mozambique. Now, if you're tracking emerging global markets or just fascinated by sheer human endurance, you've got to understand this place. It is a land of absolutely incredible natural resources. We're talking fertile soils, vast mineral deposits, and a wonderfully resilient people. But, it's also marked by this deeply complex, often tragic history of colonization and conflict. Grasping this paradox, the immense, unbelievable potential, right next to staggering historical challenges, is absolutely crucial to understanding modern Mozambique. Let's get into it.
So here's our agenda as we journey through 2,000 years of history. We'll quickly cover pre-colonial empires and trade, the Portuguese colonial era, independence and civil war, the 1992 peace agreement, economic growth and inequality, and finally, enduring cultural heritage.
All right, Section 1, Pre-colonial Empires and Trade.
Take a look at this timeline. It's a great mental framework to hold on to as we progress through these sweeping epochs. You can see the Bantu migrations establishing a foundation around 200 AD, which is long before the massive shifts brought by European arrival in 1498, and of course the incredibly intense, rapid changes of the late 20th century.
It's pretty easy to assume global trade just started with European ships, right? But actually, way before they ever appeared on the horizon, the Shona monarchies, specifically the Munamatapa Empire, held immense wealth. They had highly centralized power and ran this flourishing coastal trade with Swahili merchants. And those merchants connected them with Arabia, Persia, China, and India. The sheer opulence of this era was built on these incredible sunshine trade caravans of gold, ivory, and slaves. This wealth literally funded the construction of monumental stone palaces. It's the kind of architecture that really defined the region's early cultural majesty.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Portuguese colonial era.
So in 1498, everything shifted. Vasco da Gama arrives, and this marks the beginning of a systematic dismantling of that entire Swahili trade network we just talked about. For over 400 years, 4 centuries, Portuguese rule heavily prioritized extracting gold, slaves, and ivory for Europe. And while they were doing that, they completely turned a blind eye to native development. Formal schooling, it was virtually non-existent, pretty much left strictly to a few missionary elites. And to make matters worse, the colonizers drew completely artificial borders. They essentially mapped an artificial state that ignored all the traditional alliances, setting the stage for some serious future fractures.
This brings us to Section 3, Independence and Civil War.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the rapid sequence of events that brought down all those centuries of colonial rule. It happened with staggering speed. In 1964, the Mozambique Liberation Front, or FRELIMO, launches a guerrilla war. By the early 70s, they've actually seized huge swaths of the country. But the real catalyst? That happened oceans away. In 1974, a military coup overthrew the government back in Portugal, which instantly accelerated the timeline, culminating in full independence for Mozambique in June of 1975. But, as we often see, freedom came with an immediate crisis. The sudden Portuguese exit left a massive vacuum of skilled labor and machinery. And to objectively understand the tragic civil war that followed, we really have to look at this ideological collision. On one side, you've got the new ruling party, FRELIMO, instituting a Marxist-Leninist Soviet-style system. Then on the flip side, you have RENAMO. They were a rebel force fueled by Christian capitalist ideology, and they were heavily backed by neighboring white minority regimes in Rhodesia and South Africa, who, frankly, felt deeply threatened by the new government next door.
The fallout from this clash was just unimaginable. This conflict briefly turned Mozambique into Africa's most devastated country. It cost an estimated 1 million lives. 1 million. Plus, it displaced over 5 million people as infrastructure was just completely obliterated and agricultural production ground to a screeching halt.
And the physical scars left behind? They were equally staggering. Just to put this into perspective, out of Mozambique's 128 districts, an unbelievable 123 of them were left heavily seeded with landmines. Both FRELIMO and RENAMO forces buried explosives around villages, water sources, you name it, vital infrastructure. It created this deadly hidden legacy that literally crippled agriculture and paralyzed daily civilian life for decades after the fighting actually stopped.
Which leads us directly into Section 4, the 1992 peace agreement.
So let's look at 1992, because against all odds, the General Peace Agreement signed in Rome on October 4th became a massive beacon of hope. It's actually considered one of the most successful interventions in UN history. The crucial point here is that it successfully achieved the disarmament of 100,000 ex-combatants and safely facilitated the return of 1.1 million refugees from neighboring countries. I mean, it was nothing short of miraculous, guiding this brutalized nation right into a multi-party democracy.
Next up, Section 5, Economic Growth and Inequality. Today, Mozambique presents this really baffling economic paradox. On paper, it looks like a total boomtown. We're looking at GDP growth averaging over 8% annually for years, mostly fueled by massive foreign investment in mining, natural gas, and coal. But the reality on the ground tells a very different story. With a Human Development Index sitting under 0.476 and an illiteracy rate that is stubbornly high at around 55%, we see the stark contrast. You have a formal economy glittering like a diamond for a concentrated elite, while the average rural citizen is just trapped in persistent poverty.
Finally, let's look at Section 6, Enduring Cultural Heritage. Despite centuries of exploitation, war, and some pretty intense economic disparity, the true heartbeat of Mozambique is absolutely its resilient people and their interwoven cultural fabric. It has miraculously survived and adapted through every single era of turmoil. Think about this. 92% of the population speaks Bantu languages, spread across really diverse groups like the Makua, the Sena, and the Ndao. And their spiritual landscape is this beautiful blend of indigenous beliefs with Christianity and Islam. Culturally, all this resilience explodes into a vibrant art scene. The most famous example is probably the timbila. It's a traditional wooden xylophone, and its mesmerizing polyrhythms really echo the enduring spirit of the entire nation.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final provocative thought. We've just watched a nation transition from incredibly wealthy ancient empires through devastating colonial extraction and civil war, right into an era of soaring economic growth that is still heavily shadowed by deep inequality. So what does this all mean? The ultimate question is this: can Mozambique's current rapid economic surge finally be harnessed to overcome its legacy of historical exploitation and benefit all of its citizens? Keep that question in the back of your mind as you continue to follow the precarious but incredibly hopeful ongoing story of this fascinating nation.